C3 show. Hi. Uh, all right, we're gonna jump right into news here. Big one that comes out affected us the most as a group, and this one you're gonna watch and see as Ternes tries not to absolutely lose it. But Big Trouble in Little China is rumored to have a remake. Big Trouble in Little China is a 1986 American action film directed by John Carpenter. Stars Kurt Russell, Kim Cattrall, Dennis Dunn, and James Hogg. Apparently, Ashley Miller and Zach Sense, I think is how you pronounce his last name, not too sure, who wrote X-Men First Class, are going to be writing the script. And obviously, The Rock will play Jack Burton. Uh, Person with the most to say is Ternes, so let's start with Ternes.
Well, this is wrong on every level. Is where I'm going to start with this one.
Okay.
I think the big problem here is they seem to be pitching Big Trouble in Little China as like a classic action film where Jack Burton's the hero and all this, and that's not the case. Big Trouble in Little China, if you've seen it, you should know it's pretty much a movie about it's about the sidekick. Jack Burton's a sidekick and he thinks he's the hero of the whole movie, and that's just kind of the whole point of the movie. He's just this guy who just like cannot get it together. He does like one useful thing I think in the whole movie at the very end. That's pretty much, he's just kind of like a lovable goofball. The Rock might be able to pull that off, but I just don't see it happening, especially considering Kurt Russell's like a fourth of the size of The Rock.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, Dwayne Johnson's going to put his spin on the character, but it's just not going to be the same.
Right.
It's too different, too much of an extreme change. So,
well, I think our big fear there, it's like anything with Rock's involvement. I mean, he's proven he can do some goofy stuff, but then like, is this just gonna become that ridiculous like action?
Yeah.
We're gonna have a semi chase, and we're gonna have him blowing up. I don't know. He'll take like that SWAT approach.
Yep.
I guess like
because and I've actually never seen the movie, but isn't like, to me it seems like the movie is kind of like, I don't know, it's like niche. Like there's a certain.
Yeah.
It's like Caddyshack.
Right.
All great films.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just got a vibe and an attitude to it, which isn't really something you can replicate.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a cult classic, but it really kind of rides the line between being, like for me at least, I guess, cult classic and just regular classic. I don't know.
Right.
What that really
Well, I
means.
mean, like a lot of those 80s.
Yeah.
And especially for a John Carpenter film, it's Big Trouble, and that was one of Carpenter's like first like comedic.
Mm-hmm.
Branches away, because he did Big Trouble right after The Thing, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So that was, it's like, here, let's switch it up a little bit, and they were having fun with their effects. But just like you said, the fact that Jack Burton was just there, and he was just like, oh, I'm gonna get the girl.
Yeah.
He had nothing to do with the girl. It was them, falling into, well, as with any movie like this, it was them, falling into some situation just so ridiculous that.
He's basically just along for the ride.
Yeah.
That's just what makes it so great. He's just, I don't know how to put it in words exactly, but it's just something The Rock hasn't done yet, so I don't want to say he can't do it, but I really have a hard time seeing it.
Okay. And I guess kind of the closer to that would be when they redid Willy Wonka. Mm-hmm. They did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which they had a source material that they could be more faithful to, I guess, if you want to say that. Because obviously in the movie, they changed things from the book. There's no Big Trouble Little China book, though, if I'm correct. I mean, it's just that movie.
Yep.
So it's kind of, how do you diverge from the original film? It's kind of like when they redid Psycho with Vince Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of, they did a shot-for-shot remake, and it's kind of hard to wonder what you do, with a remake like that.
Well, my biggest fear is they do like they've done with all the rest. They turn it into just this ridiculous, over-the-top, freaking action movie you know, and it's going to be all about explosions and this is not that kind of movie.
Yeah,
You know,
anybody who looks at Big Trouble in Little China and says this needs more action is not getting the movie. Like that's the fun, is being there and just like seeing just kind of how things go down and just watching. Like it is ridiculous, you know. I mean, like you got the lightning and you know like, these guys shooting
the
lightning.
Eternal Warriors, and
it's just, you know, the whole movie's like it's a stupid movie essentially. I mean, it's really dumb, but you love it because of that, you know, or in spite of it or whatever. So it's just.
Yeah. And Lopan's a classic villain. I mean, that was just he's forever. He was that the stereotype. He was the whole movie was just, and that's, I think, the whole concept of that film was just kind of making fun of the old China cinema and you know, just like, oh, Grandmaster, you know, all hunched over and being creepy, and then with the Eternal Warriors doing their thing, and you know, however, they left it wide open for a sequel. And here we are 30 years later, you know, because it did end on a cliffhanger, I guess we'll call it. But it'd be one thing, you know, are they going to take the remake approach, or do they take just the modern retelling approach? In which case, this could be, you know, maybe this is Burton Jr. or maybe, you know, a 6'6", 285 pounds.
Yes.
Burton Jr., but you never know. We have no clue.
That's the big argument, I guess, people always say, is if you're going to remake something, you should approach it from a new angle. You know, which is kind of what they tried to do with like the new Mad Max movie. That's like a remake, a reboot, and a sequel all in one.
Yeah.
He's not, you know, like, I guess the guy who created the character was like, I want it to be like a new Max, but we're not going to delve into his past at all. He's not going to be. We're just going to.
The James Bond approach, if you will.
Everything's already established when you start the movie, and it's like, it's just, you go and you take it, you know, and like, that'd be it. That might be able to be pulled off, but I mean, my issue is still with the whole, you know, like when they remade, you know, or when they made a new Ninja Turtles movie, it's like, this is something that I love, you know, what are they going to do to it? And they're remaking The Crow, you know, too, and it's just like...
Well, I guess, and in defense of Turtles, you may not like the movie, but you can argue that Turtles have always been a reflection of the times they're in.
Yes.
So that's a very easily updatable property.
Absolutely.
Big Trouble Little China, like I said, there's only one.
Yep.
And that's, you know, it seems 80s, and you know, it's like you said, it's a comment on old Chinese cinema.
Yep.
So it's kind of hard to, you know, do, like, I guess you can do it modern and still make fun of all that stuff, but you know, even our generation kind of grew up with, I guess you could say, slight racism, you know, with characters like Lopan, you know, the big Chinese guy, you know, with the big Iron Fist, who's Iron Fist's villain? Fu Manchu. You can't call him Fu Manchu anymore because that's, you know, obviously for very reasons that's you know, not appropriate.
It's non-PC,
yeah, and that's just kind of what I'm thinking, is that, you know, because they want that 17 to whatever, 13, 12-year-old money.
17 to 35. And you gotta. I always worry that we're hitting this point of that's all you get is hero movies or remakes or reboots, and luckily they haven't, you know, no announcement. Keep our fingers crossed, like no Gremlins, no Jaws, like if they start diving into that territory, then I start riding, because you don't mess with.
You know what I'd be fine with Gremlins? A straight to DVD sequel.
There we go.
Done nothing but like practical effects.
Yep.
Like if they wanted to make like a cheesy Gremlins 8 or something like that, I think that'd be great, and that'd be in line with with it. But yeah, to do a theatrical. Only if they can remake Gremlins 2, as long as Hulk Hogan has his cameo.
That's one of my biggest things with movies nowadays too. It's like they try to do the reboots and you know, the remakes and all that, but you know, I want to see sequels to stuff. Like I want to see those same characters 30 years later. Like what's happened since, you know, like what's going on with that, and that's interesting to me.
Kevin Smith's got your back, but we'll get to that in a minute. I guess this, because I had this down too, and this is more relevant to this. Tron 3 just got
nixed,
got nixed, which you were just saying. You know, either it's a superhero movie or it's a sequel. And I was surprised they were doing Tron 3 because I didn't think Legacy did that well. I really liked the movie.
I thought it was
I thought it was a good
fantastic.
movie, and I thought Daft Punk on that soundtrack was
Best.
like, and that was I always love that when the music is a character in and of itself,
Mm-hmm.
and you can argue that with Tron Legacy is that the music is a character.
Yeah.
And then what was the animated part, like .2,
Yeah,
the add-on to Legacy?
there was a TV series. I remember what it was called.
Uprising or
Something
Uplink
like
or
that.
something like that. And like I thought that was great, and I was setting it up. I know one thing they were saying, the benefit is that both of them had endings. Nothing was really left on a cliffhanger. But at the same time, I mean, Tron. I thought that, I don't know with you, I thought it was badass. I thought this was something that they were this could easily have developed into a new rekindled franchise for them.
Yeah.
But right now, I mean, Disney, here's the thing. By the time they're done counting their Avengers money, then they're clearing off the table for Star Wars money.
Yep.
And right now, I think the next 5 years, as far as Disney film is concerned, if it doesn't say Marvel or Star Wars on it,
Pretty much.
and then even like their Pixar stuff. But I think are they separated? I know
They're
they have
independent
another.
now, yep.
They're independent, so
They're on their own.
they have a dinosaur movie coming out. And
Yeah.
So my thing with Tron 3 is number one. I mean, it took them long enough. Like Tron, there was Tron, and then however many years later there was Tron Legacy, and then they just kind of like. I remember walking out of the theater thinking, "Oh, there's going to be a sequel to this. There has to be because there's that guy in the boardroom meeting, Cillian Murphy. He was in there, and like made kind of a whole big thing about that, and like there's all these like." Everything does wrap up, but there's just little questions you have left. It's like there has to be a sequel, and then just nothing. And I heard nothing about it until maybe like a few months ago, and then all of a sudden now it's just like, nope, we're not doing it.
the end.
I mean, like, but then again, how many years was there between Tron and Tron Legacy? So
Yeah.
we may not have seen the last of anything.
Yeah. I think I agree with you, Mike. I think it doesn't say Star Wars or Marvel on it, so
Yeah,
it's.
set it off to the side for now.
I don't think it was super popular too, wasn't it?
I know,
I know it made its money, but I
Yeah.
don't think it wasn't like.
It wasn't a blockbuster
Yeah.
film by any means. Yeah, they held on. But I'm trying to think of like other. I know there's talks right now of like, and there has been talks forever about a Goonies 2. I know like Sean Astin had said like everybody, as far as they're concerned, everybody's on board
Mhm.
just to make and you could like Goonies is one of those you could have Son of the Goonies or
Yep.
Goonies the Next Generation or whatever you want to call it. And
Yeah.
there's plots already written. There's already there's got to be story.
www.mikesfanfiction.com.
That's right. If you like erotic Goonies fiction, been watching too much Bob's Burgers.
Hey, you.
All I'm writing is
Hey,
erotic
you
fiction.
guys. But let's circle back around to what we were saying. Kevin Smith, everyone is kind of bringing his name up because a couple reasons. He's making Clerks 3.
Mm-hmm.
He's making Mallrats 2.
Yep.
And he just recently said if he can make a DC movie, he'd make The Question.
Which would be
Which-
awesome.
Could be, but there's no way I could ever foresee The Question.
Having his own movie?
No, or in this case, now it's her. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
there's no. What the hell's the question?
You know what,
What's the
though?
question?
If you want my honest opinion, if Marvel gave him a very modest budget,
Mhm.
they could do amazing things with that. Because, I mean, with The Question, what he's kind of, he's a detective, essentially.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? He's really not anything special. He's just a guy with a mask that doesn't have a face on it.
Mhm.
Or chi, whichever one you're going with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could really have a pretty cheap movie to make.
Mhm.
And,
However,
You know.
like we were discussing before, DC right now, like I don't know what the hell they have going on. I have no clue. Like there is somebody with, movie in their title, and it just Like, I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening at DC right now. Like, why can't you just sit down in this case just copy the other guy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the guy.
Like, how hard it, and it's like DC just does not seem to. How do I want to word it? Right now, they're going through what Marvel went through in the '90s, where DC is spread out between 15 different networks, and I mean, granted, it's all owned by the same person, anyways, but it's all
Halliburton.
yeah, it's all sprawled out and it's all over the place, and they've already disassembled their cinematic universe before even creating one.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, here, watch all our TV shows, but never mind, because when the movies come out, that starts the next. Rather than saying, you know what, we want you to watch Arrow for the next 6 years.
Yeah.
Or we want you to watch The Flash for the next 6 years. No, they're saying...
How could... And we said it before. How can you not lock Stephen Amell down for an Arrow movie? For a Green Arrow movie.
Yeah.
It seems built into me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Or make him a big part of Justice League.
Exactly. And there's no reason that they couldn't. And that's where I think all the other fans out there, it's like, what the hell is happening? Like, The Flash took off for this year, and it's like they killed it for a first season show. Their effects team is there, and it's like, yeah, here, you know what? Give them a couple $million more to work with, and say, here, we need an 80 to 95 minute episode, for theaters, and have fun with it. And but right now they're disassembling their universe, and then once Superman, Batman hits, we'll see what kind of tone that sets. But and look at like all of our.
Well, it's gonna be sad and depressing.
Yeah. It very well could be, and who knows? I mean, I've wanted that type of a hero movie for a while, but as far as the majority, it's like no. We're in that minority of comic fans that want that stuff, but they need to go for that family. They need family money.
Yeah.
I mean, as of we're recording this, just reading earlier, I mean, Avengers is hitting, the 900 million. They'll break $1 billion within the next few weeks, realistic.
Right.
I mean, that's $1 billion from somebody going to a movie theater.
Yep.
And
I'm actually okay though with DC kind of like separating all their stuff, because that's how a lot of regular comics already are, and what that does is like I don't watch Arrow. I want to, I haven't gotten around to it. Same with Flash. Same with everything DC's doing right now on TV. So what that does is that opens it up for me, so I can go to the movie and just enjoy just the movie.
But I think this would be their prime opportunity though, because like let's say if you have it as a standalone product, here's Stephen Amell as Green Arrow on the big screen, and maybe it's not that tough these days. It's like just a couple nods in that script towards past TV show where you could go home and say, oh, okay, maybe I do want to check out a season or two of that show and see what got him to this point or whatever. But
well, I think kind of too, I would not give him his own movie, but putting him in Justice League as a character, oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely good for, give him a half hour screen time, whatever, and I think it would be huge on DC's behalf, where it's like, start tying this in, and it's like Marvel has proven that it works, and that is what fans want. And I know we've discussed in the past on how, it doesn't maybe necessarily translate into the comic shops and stuff like that, but if it keeps people interested, like with Ant-Man, despite its delays and all that, all of a sudden we're hearing a lot of buzz about it, and it's like, odds are if you went to Avengers, a couple weeks ago,
you're mildly interested in Ant-Man.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's Paul Rudd, okay, if I'm in the mood for that type of movie. I mean, I'm still back and forth. I keep saying I won't see it, but
you'll see it.
Part of me,
I'll
end up there on a Monday afternoon.
Oh yeah, easy.
Well, here's another thing too. You said how much you liked it when they mentioned the Abomination in the Daredevil series.
Yeah, and that was cool.
Just saying.
Yeah, that was cool. I'm
that
all
stuff,
for
just
that
a
kind
little
of
something.
stuff. But I mean, like, my whole thing is like, I really like the idea of like things just being separated on there. I mean, it does totally suck for who's the guy that plays the Flash. Whatever his name is, it sucks for him that the first season was doing great, and they were like, by the way, we're making a Flash movie, and he's not going to be in it.
Yeah,
that sucks. But also, it gives us room for other cool potential things that happen in the comics world. like crossovers and events and that sort of thing.
And who knows too? I mean,
that's-
this could be, he could be this new guy could be Wally West.
Yep.
Yeah,
You know, they could leave Barry Allen out of it and just make reference to him, but then say this new kid is Wally West.
Mm-hmm.
Which
and that can definitely work. I just said, like, right now, I think DC, they're on the TV, at least with their CW stuff, and them having Legends of Tomorrow, with that coming out, it's another show this fall, gives them 3 nights a week with hero programming in prime time. And I think that's huge, and I think this is where they need to ride that, and they need to get as many people as possible to sit down and watch these shows. And ideal scenario, they come out and they buy the comics, and it's like, I know we've talked a little bit in the past on how the translation between the two just doesn't seem to be there right now. But at the same time, there's enough hardcore fans out there that will keep the projects afloat. And I think this is where DC, it's like, if you come at us, with a, let's say the next Batman, right? Non-Affleck Batman, are they going to start us at freaking Gotham? Are they going to start us at, oh, here's Bruce Wayne as a kid? We don't, as far as I'm concerned, we never, or rather we should never have to watch Bruce Wayne's parents get killed on film ever again.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows by now.
Everybody knows. Superman. I don't care. Yep. We don't need to see the rocket.
Yep.
And same with like Spider-Man, all that. It's like they're around long enough, and I think that's what's getting to me. Is what's really irking me, is because like they do Flash. Okay, do we have to sit through a whole deal on that? Or like when Justice League finally comes about, it's like, do we have to learn the history of Aquaman?
And here's another one that I just kind of read too, is for Spider-Man, I kind of saw the casting list they're having up. They're having, one of them is the kid that was in Ender's Game. Like, I knew they said they were going young, but this is really young.
Yeah,
like
13, 14.
Did you read why they said they were doing that? Because what I read, rumor has it, is that they're planning 4 new Spider-Man movies, and each one is going to be a different year of high school. So they want somebody that's actually high school age, and not like a 27-year-old playing a 17-year-old. Because enough of that. We saw Tom Welling try and do it for long enough. I mean, let's get past it now. Let's cast young people. So
and that I like that idea. And however, this goes way back to our Marvel. Movie announcement days. A lot can happen in 4 years. And like, Walt Syndrome, as I like to call it, as for those Lost fans out there. It's like, oh, he's 8. No, he's 15. No, he's 10. No, I think he's 19. Like, and that was over the course of like 2 years of filming, and that kid grew like 2.5 feet. And it was like, I commended him for keeping the same actor, but then all of a sudden, for watchers, it's like, oh, hey, this kid might be that squeaky little, freshman, and then, 2 years later, however, if they film it right and you watch him grow, that makes a big difference, and you can be able to, or you'd be able to relate and be like, oh, okay, it makes it more believable.
Yeah, that would be key, is the format and how you go about it.
Yeah, so it's pretty much anything different from what they did with The Amazing Spider-Man.
Still haven't seen part 2.
Part 2? It's not a bad movie, but it suffers from Batman and Robin syndrome of wanting too many villains. Yeah, I mean, that's, you watch it and you're like, this is way too much universe building in one film.
No.
It's almost like, watch the screen, nod, 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 nod. That's this guy, this could be this guy, this could be this guy, this could be this guy. Like, it's one movie. I mean, come on,
one villain's fine.
Cut it. You cut it. Even if you want to, and you want to treat one like Electro as the henchman or whatever, that's fine. But we don't need, 15 other nods to all these other guys. And
just so they can set up the Sinister Six movie.
Yeah.
Which they reference for 0.3 seconds at the very end.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's, at this point, probably not even going to actually happen.
No, I hope not.
No.
Yeah.
But that Aunt May movie.
Fingers crossed, guys.
Fingers crossed.